Hey, it's Nancy. Before we begin today, I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Crime Beat early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime.
A listener's note. The following episode contains coarse language, adult themes, and content of a violent and disturbing nature, and may not be suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised.
He appeared to be a friendly older man. His round features, white hair, and warm smile, underneath the matching beard, made him look so harmless, he was even able to play Santa at neighborhood malls.
I trusted him.
He seemed approachable to men he met on online dating sites. But behind this affable persona was a predator.
So he's reached over like this with his left hand.
Yeah. Turns from a smile to a scowl. And he's just squishing my throat. And he's not choking me, he's strangling me.
As men began to vanish, rumors swirled that there was a serial killer preying on gay and bisexual men in Toronto.
As the bodies started piling up, it got pretty bad. I was exasperated.
I said, how close was I to being killed?
I'm Nancy Hixt, a senior crime reporter for Global News. Today I'm joined by Catherine McDonald, my colleague from the TV documentary series Crime Beat, as she shares chilling details from Bruce McArthur's case in I Survived a Serial Killer.
It was supposed to be a date, but a coffee and dinner quickly turned into a nightmare for the man we're calling Isaac.
I met him back 2011, I guess, 2010, 11. And he contacted me on Silver Daddies. And I've been with a few guys. It's just along the lines of, I like your profile, type thing. Do you like mine?
Isaac spoke to me in an exclusive interview for the TV documentary series a few years ago. He told me he had been living on his own in Toronto in 2010 and 2011 and had been enjoying a pretty low-key lifestyle after working for 7 years as a mechanic in the Canadian Forces.
Just a guy who went to work, came home, ate his dinner, watched some TV, fell asleep. Couldn't wait for the weekends to go do something extracurricular.
He was looking for some companionship and found a post online. He thought this guy seemed nice, so he responded.
All I really knew was his name was Bruce.
Bruce projected an image of himself as fun, laid back, like when he posted a video of himself doing the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge in 2014.
Okay, go.
Isaac agreed to meet Bruce, and soon the two began hooking up. They saw each other on and off for several years.
After sex, we would talk a little bit. He told me that he was divorced. He had a couple of kids grown up and stuff. One of the important things I did want to say was Bruce never came out on his own. I think one of the reasons why marriage was ruined is because he was outed. That's what he told me. This is straight from Bruce.
Even though they had spent time together, Isaac never thought of Bruce as his boyfriend. Instead, he saw it as casual meetups, usually at Isaac's place.
He was also good at showing up unannounced. He'd done that many times. He did it on Christmas, too, a couple of times, and he'd worn a Santa uniform, or his costume.
So he seemed a little bit aggressive.
In that attitude, yeah.
But what happened on June 20th, 2016 was far more than a little aggressive. It's the reason why we've agreed to conceal Isaac's identity.
There was many, many times I would come home and he would be sitting in the driveway from my building waiting for me to get home, and he's done that many times. And as I'm parking, he would show up. He would just pop my head in either of my windows and say hi, And that's what he did that day. I said, well, I just got home from work. I'm dirty and stuff, and I need to take a shower and all that. I said, let's go upstairs. And he goes, no, I don't want to go upstairs this time. Let's let's just do it in the van. It seemed a little intriguing at the time. It was like, you know, it's risque, right? So that's exciting.
Isaac said he told Bruce he would meet him at a parking lot up the road once he had taken his shower. Dashcam video showed Isaac arriving at a plaza near Bathurst Street and Finch Avenue in Toronto's North End at around 6:30 that night. Bruce was inside a maroon 2004 Dodge Caravan when he pulled up.
Well, as I pulled in, he was standing outside. Pulled the side door open, standing, waited there, says, get in, get in, get in. Let's just go lay down. I laid down, and it was a small, narrow area, and he had the very rear seat pulled out, so there was a little bit more room, not much, but there's that fur coat, some tarps, and a fur coat on top. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, nice, he laid down the fur coat so I wouldn't get dirty.
Although the two had been together before, Isaac said this time there was no small talk. And before he knew it, Isaac said he felt the full weight of Bruce's body on top of him.
And then I just, as he grabbed my arm, he just grabbed my throat. I know he was going to kill me.
I first met Isaac in March 2019, when he reached out to me to share what had happened to him 3 years earlier. The details he shared were graphic and vivid in nature.
It turns from a smile to a scowl. He had a scowl on his face, had a look of anger, hatred, and with his full force of his hand, open hand, he grabs my neck. Oh man, that hurt. I'm just laying there. I tried to move my arm, my right arm, but he's right on top of it. I can't pull it out. The guy weighs like 280 pounds, eh? And I kind of want to pull away to my left because he's on my right, and that's not happening. No way. He's got me locked down. And he's just squishing my throat. And he's not choking me, he's strangling me. At that point, I'm in survival mode. I managed to get the words out, what do you want? And I never got an answer. I started seeing these little black dots. So I knew I was running out of breath, you know. Also, at the same time, I'm thinking, I guess that's the end of me. At that point, there's nothing but fear going through me, you know. And he's still on top of me. He's still strangling me. And you know when they say your life flashes before your eyes? Well, it does. And the last thing I thought of was my mom, because she was sick. And I was thinking, it would break her heart.
Minutes felt like an eternity as Isaac fought for his life.
Being on my stomach, I managed to use the rest of the muscles in my shoulders and stuff like that, and pull my chest up a little bit to pull my right arm out. And that's when he let go, when he saw my hand. And that's when I pushed up, and he flew. I was kind of in a rage. I was angry. So I just grabbed the sliding door of the van and got out. And I'm screaming at him, and I'm yelling at him. I even said to him, you're under arrest. Calling the cops.
Isaac escaped from Bruce's van and ran to his vehicle to call for help.
Yeah. Somebody just tried to strangle me.
I need to know what happened.
Some guy just tried to strangle me to death.
He knew I was on the phone with the police because my vehicle's right beside his, so he can hear it over the speakers. So he beat it out of there, and I tried to chase him.
And I need you to pull over and talk to me.
911 told me to pull over, let the police get him. I gave him the plate number and stuff.
What happened?
We're inside the guy's van. His name's Bruce. We've known him for a while. We kind of make out once in a while. And all of a sudden, he just grabbed me by the throat. He threw my arm behind my back.
Isaac stopped following Bruce and returned to the parking lot to wait for police who would take his statement.
And you wanted him charged?
No, I didn't say anything about that. I just said, you tell Bruce to stay away, because it's his word against my word.
Isaac said that later he learned that police did follow up with Bruce after the incident. Bruce had driven himself to the police station, where he was arrested and gave a statement. Police ran a criminal record check on Bruce, but a previous assault conviction from 2003 did not show up because he had received a pardon. Bruce was released without charges. For a year and a half, Isaac said he did not hear anything from police or from Bruce. And then,
it's here in Toronto's gay village where police say 3 men mysteriously disappeared.
Quite unusual. Look at the circumstances surrounding this case. We've not heard or seen from them for several years now.
The men had been reported missing between September 2010 and October 2012. Skanda Raja Navaratnam, Abdul Basir Faizi, and Majid Kayhan.
Police now believe the disappearances may be connected. All 3 men did not know each other, but they have similar appearances, and they were known to frequent the area around Church and Wellesley.
There seems to be a thread in these 3 disappearances. It is unsettling, I think, for a lot of people.
This police spokesperson says an 18-month investigation called Project Houston into those 3 men wrapped up in 2014. It was never resolved.
I was hoping the police would put more effort in trying to solve this mystery. It's really worrisome.
Sean Cribben was living in the Church Wellesley village, which is home to Canada's largest 2S LGBTQIA+ community. And at the time, he remembers seeing the faces of the missing men.
The first time I remember becoming aware was the 3 posters were up in a row of the first 3 victims. And I was walking with a friend, and he actually said, "Oh, it's a serial killer."
When Sean was younger, he had been named Mr. Leatherman Toronto and became something of a local celebrity. He remembers hearing the news of the missing men and Project Houston. Several years had gone by since then. It was the start of 2017, and Sean was online, using dating apps to meet up with other men who shared his sexual interests, including a love of leather. Sean and his partner were in an open relationship, but he started communicating with one older man in particular. He only knew the man as Bruce. Both had busy schedules, but they finally managed to coordinate a time to meet in person on March the 1st, 2017.
I didn't know he was a landscaper because he told me that was why he was so busy. So certainly from the spring until winter set in, he was hopping.
Except Sean accidentally overslept.
So you knew he was upset?
Yeah.
Days went by, and then, on June 26, 2017, the day after Toronto's Pride Parade, came the news that another man was missing.
He's our building super, and he's super responsible. He's the kind of guy that will text you back within half an hour. And he didn't that evening.
On Facebook, I was alerted the very next day, his cat hadn't been fed. Does anyone know where he is?
And did you think anything of that as far as maybe the serial killer again, or?
Well, I didn't connect it back to the first ones, but at that time I thought there had been some sort of foul play.
Homicide detective David Dickinson was brought on as lead investigator of a new task force, Project Prism, to look into the disappearances of Andrew Kinsman and Salim Essen, who had been missing since the spring. Both Andrew and Salim were openly gay and frequented the village. They were active on social media dating sites, but police had yet to determine any links between them.
It was surveillance video that made the headway. Once we were able to narrow down Andrew's timeline and discover that it appeared that Andrew stopped communicating with the world around 3 o'clock on June 26th, we observed a van driving down the street.
Andrew Kinsman was last seen getting into a red van and had not been seen or heard from since.
While the investigation continued, almost a month went by before Sean and Bruce finally managed to set up a new date.
I really remember how sunny it was that day because as I was crossing the parking lot to go to the meeting spot, I was thinking, oh, it's so nice to have this luxury on a weekday to be able to do something so naughty and luxurious, I guess, for lack of a better term.
So you're in the red Dodge Caravan?
Yes.
Minivan?
Yeah.
What do you think when you look at him?
I trusted him. Right from the beginning. I think communicating over 3 years builds trust.
But Sean couldn't shake the rumors of a potential serial killer. From 2010 to 2017, 5 men had been reported missing. So when Sean finally met up with Bruce, he brought it up.
I said, so there's a serial killer in the neighborhood. I wonder who it is.
What did he say?
He didn't say anything to that. But then the conversation went from that to his landscaping business. Then from there, it went to the Mall Santa gig. And again, I, in hindsight, think this was a way of building trust, because my immediate response in hindsight is, ooh, creepy. But at the time, I thought, oh, community service. He's good with children. And he's Santa Claus. Those are 3 very positive attributes to have. I think it was a tactic.
Bruce offered to drive him to his apartment building in the northeast end of Toronto, where he had a unit on the 19th floor.
Pulled into the parking garage, and just before we got out of the van, he said, so nobody knows you're here? And I said, no, I didn't tell my partner, but I'll tell him when I get home tonight. It will be okay. And then off we went up.
He directed you right to the bedroom.
Yeah.
The two shared an interest in leather and role-playing. Sometimes Sean would enhance his stimulation by taking small doses of GHB, also known as G, or liquid ecstasy. It's a drug that slows down your breathing and heart rate.
So I pulled out the bottle, and because I had the guilt of running late, I was trying to make up time. I had to go to the bathroom. So I said, this is the G, here's the measuring device, a cap. I said, pour 1, don't pour 2, because that will put me to sleep. And then as I handed over to him, I said to him, if you were the serial killer, this is the drug you would want to use.
GHB is also known as the date rape drug and is illegal in Canada.
Sean left Bruce alone to mix his drink and went into the bathroom to freshen up.
I came out, he handed me the drink right away, and I guzzled it, which is how you do it. It was probably about 10 minutes of just kind of rolling around. But he was definitely aggressive. Now, I've made no consent to be bound or any of that stuff. And then he started to, he kind of sat on my chest, which constricted my breathing. And I have breathing difficulties already. So that was, now, as this is all starting to progress, the G only takes about 5 to 10 minutes to hit. So I'm starting to feel it. But there's a couple of signs that I'm familiar with, because it happened once that I double dosed myself by accident. What happens is I sweat, but not just sweat, it's like this profuse sweating that just pours down. And I start to see little colors in the air, in my eyes. And then I usually know I'm about to go. I wasn't used to the weight here, so my lungs weren't getting, at least if someone's doing this, you're still breathing through your nose. But here, it was like I had my space was, so I could only get a very shallow breath. He was choking me.
Were you saying anything to him, this isn't fun, or stop?
No, because, again, the nature of the play, it's called breath control. There is some play that I'm familiar with around that. So it didn't strike me as anything odd. It still was within the boundaries of trust until I started to, they call it swirl, and that's before you pass out. And then nothing until I woke up. So I wake up and I hear the roommate is well inside the apartment. I can hear in the kitchen something being pots or something. So I turned to him and I said, oh, your roommate's home. Then I said, perhaps we should do this another day. And that was kind of, because I didn't think anything wrong was happening, but I was uncomfortable with how things were progressing.
Bruce allowed him to leave and even gave him a ride back downtown. But Sean vowed there was not going to be another date.
I may have to his face been, oh yeah, let's do this again. But it was like, no, we're not doing this again.
Meanwhile, Andrew Kinsman's disappearance, along with the other missing men, had continued to stump investigators. But Detective Dave Dickinson had just discovered a critical clue.
Andrew had a traditional calendar on his desk, and on the date he went missing, on June 26th, he had a couple appointments, and one had said just the name Bruce. So with the red van that we observed on the surveillance video, and with that name Bruce, we were able to go to the Ministry of Transportation and request all of the Dodge Caravans in Ontario, in essence.
He got the list down to 5 Bruces.
I ultimately looked into the backgrounds of all 5 of those Bruces and got to Bruce McArthur.
As Toronto Police Detective Dave Dickinson searched for leads in the disappearance of multiple men, including Andrew Kinsman, he came across that police statement that Isaac made over a year earlier.
There was an occurrence from 2016 where he was involved in an assault in the back of that van. So that occurrence was very important to me because from that one piece of evidence, from that one occurrence, I knew that Bruce McArthur had committed previous assaults in that van, and 2, he was a gay man.
What did you do with that information, with that complaint that was made from 2016? Had it been properly investigated, or what did you find out?
That wasn't my job to look at the time. Obviously, when we started looking at Bruce McArthur, my focus was on Bruce McArthur. I did not know the relationship that this victim had with Bruce McArthur, or presently had. We couldn't reach out to that victim during the investigation with fear that that victim may talk to Bruce McArthur.
But that incident in 2016 was not the only time police had recently spoken to Bruce McArthur.
And it was at that time that another member of the team, Josh McKenzie, immediately recognized that he had, I interviewed Bruce McArthur in 2013 as part of Project Houston.
Why was he brought in for an interview in 2013?
Bruce was brought in as a witness in 2013, just like many others. But during that interview, he admitted to being friends or acquaintance with Skanda Navaratnam and Majid Kayhan.
Detective Dave Dickinson was able to confirm that the van seen picking up Andrew Kinsman was the same van that belonged to Bruce McArthur. Investigators put him under surveillance.
You know, there were lots of times where I would be driving to work and thinking, are we on the right guy? Like, he's a landscaper. He's just driving around blowing leaves.
Months went by without an arrest. And still police maintained there was no serial killer operating in the village.
There is no evidence that a serial killer is responsible for the disappearance of any of the missing males.
There are a lot of things that were swirling out in the public. The fact that there was a serial killer that was out there, the evidence does not point to that. The evidence does not suggest that.
Here's Detective Dave Dickinson.
At that time, Bruce McArthur was only a suspect in Andrew Kinsman's murder, no more. He was no different than any other murderer that I investigated.
That would quickly change when it became clear there was more to this case. Investigators had connected the maroon 2004 Dodge Caravan to McArthur and traced it to an auto parts shop just outside of Toronto. Detective Dave Dickinson says when they seized it, they found blood inside.
As an investigative team, you strategize and try to determine if evidence still existed, where would that evidence be? So a decision was made to obtain a warrant to covertly enter his apartment and do a physical search of his apartment, but also obtain copies of his computer. We had our surveillance on him, and at approximately just before 10 o'clock in the morning, I received a telephone call from my investigators who were out with their surveillance and told me that Bruce McArthur had picked up a male and looked like he was heading back to his apartment. I left the office very quickly. I wasn't far from the address and drove very fast down to Bruce McArthur's apartment where we took the elevator up to his floor, knocked on his door with the intention of forcing our way in should we have to, but he answered the door and was arrested.
This morning at approximately 10:25 a.m., Police arrested 66-year-old Bruce McArthur. He's killed at least 2 people that we know of, and we believe there are more victims.
When police arrested Bruce McArthur on January 18, 2018, they had not yet found the victims' bodies. They also did not disclose the cause of death as they searched 4 different properties in and around Toronto. I asked Inspector Hank Adzinga of the Toronto Police Homicide Squad at a press conference just over a week later about their disturbing discoveries.
You got the remains of 3 people, but you say he is responsible for the first-degree murder of 5. Was Mr. McArthur cataloging his victims? Is that how you're able to say these are the 5 people you believe he killed?
Again, as I've said, the remains that we've recovered are of victims who were dismembered. There's at least the remains of 3 people amongst those body parts.
But you have names of 5 people. You say so how are you able to come to those names? Did he actually leave a list?
I can't comment on that.
Detective Dickinson said that police had not found a list, but instead they made a much more unsettling discovery on Bruce McArthur's computer.
Ultimately, photographs of deceased men were located on his computer, which made him arrestable for murder. We identified that he had categorized folders for the men that he had murdered. Some men that we did not even know who they were at that time.
When news broke of Bruce McArthur's arrest, Sean was at home with his partner.
He came in with his iPad and just went, "This is him," and it was full face, and that's when I went, "Oh my God." At this point, I'm still thinking that I was just not involved on any deeper level than we tried to hook up. It didn't work out. That's what I thought. And then the next morning, the phone rang.
Detective Dickinson and Sean Cribben will take you through the harrowing details of what happened during Sean's close encounter with Bruce McArthur.
Sean Cribben was an individual who we identified because his photographs were on Bruce McArthur's computer.
It was Detective Hernandez, and she was telling me that I had vital information for this case, and if I would come in for an interview.
We were following up with Sean Cribben when we identified his photographs to, first of all, make sure that he was alive and he had not been a victim. And secondly, that someone that we would be interviewing later in life, post-arrest, to hopefully help us with some evidence against Bruce McArthur.
I learned that I was unconscious and bound, and that the murder weapon was up against my throat. I knew it was a pipe. I said, how close was I to being killed? And that's when her eyes welled up with tears, and she, in a very shaky voice, just said, "I'm just so happy you're here." Her last thing was to me is that she goes, "You are the only person that knows this piece of information. What goes on behind when the door closes to the bedroom, I was the only person that was alive."
Detective Dickinson and I went back to 95 Thorncliffe Park Drive for the documentary TV series. That's where police in 2018 found 1,800 exhibits and 18,000 photos in their intensive search of Bruce McArthur's apartment. What's it like being back?
I haven't been here since the last day when we finished the search warrant.
Do we know if this is where he killed the people, or?
Yeah, some of the men were killed there, yes.
And you remember walking him out that day? You remember?
Yeah, I walked them out, and there was a police car parked right where those flowers were, and put him in the marked police car right there.
He was getting away with this for so long.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, for many, many years.
Bruce McArthur would eventually be charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder for the killings of Skandaraj Navaratnam, Abdul Basir Faizi, Majid Kayhan, Sarush Mahmoodi, Karushna Kumar Kanagaratnam, Dean Lisowick, Salim Essen, and Andrew Kinsman. Most of the men had ties to the gay village. Several were married and leading double lives. 2 of them had never been reported missing. As the investigation continued, police would go on to discover the dismembered remains of Bruce McArthur's victims at a home of a landscaping client, with whom Bruce had exchanged work for equipment storage. Some remains were found in planters in the garage, while other remains were found in the backyard. As news of Bruce McArthur's arrest spread, Isaac said he watched at home and thought about his own experience being assaulted in June 2016.
When he got arrested, I felt strange. After what he did to me, the next day, a call from the police, come on down, let's have a little talk. They had a lot of very detailed questions.
This is now a year and a half later. You went to the police, you called the police. Are you wondering to yourself, what happened to my case?
Yeah, because nobody called me back. I guess for a few months after that, as the bodies started piling up, I would find myself having to sit down. But it got pretty bad. I was exasperated. I was thinking about how close I came. He almost had me. After the assault, every day when I came home, I'd be looking through my driveway to make sure he's not there. And even after he was arrested, I still kept looking. I kept looking for a long time.
Bruce McArthur's arrest prompted mixed emotions, particularly in Toronto's gay community. Some were relieved that he had been caught, but there was also frustration that it took so long for investigators to connect the dots to catch the predator that had been lurking. There was also a sense that the case wasn't initially taken seriously because many of the victims were gay men, and many of them were newcomers to Canada.
Knowing that there was one amongst us for such a long period of time and the police were totally inactive is disappointing and saddening for our community.
On February 5th, 2018, the community gathered at a vigil at the Metropolitan Church of Toronto, where Reverend Jeff Rock spoke about the victims.
Specifically preying on people that are sometimes labeled as vulnerable. Racialized people, refugees and immigrants, people struggling with their sexuality and addictions and mental health, people who identify as gay or don't, people the perpetrator thought no one would miss. But we do miss them, and we do remember them.
On January 29th, 2019, McArthur pleaded guilty to all 8 counts of first-degree murder.
A sense of grim finality from the courts tonight, Bruce McArthur admitting to his heinous crimes.
So that means no more alleged, no more accused, no more charged. Just this simple reality. Bruce McArthur murdered 8 innocent men.
Now he stands among the worst serial killers in Canadian history. Catherine McDonald was in court today. Catherine.
Well, it was a day of anticipation and anxiety for families of the victims. We sat in the courtroom for roughly 40 minutes before Bruce McArthur walked in, his head down, in handcuffs, and he finally pleaded guilty 8 times to 8 counts of first-degree murder. And then it was like a collective sigh of relief came over the courtroom.
We, myself and the investigative team, are pleased that Mr. McArthur has pled guilty today, sparing the community and those who knew the victims a lengthy trial. We did this because we wanted answers too, and I hope we brought some closure.
Detective Dave Dickinson and Isaac still remember that day in court.
As an investigator, it was a good moment. I made sure that I sat as close as I could to him, and I looked him straight in the eye every time he said guilty.
I wanted him to see me, to see the look in my eyes.
Did he look at you?
No. He had his head down the whole time. He looked at the floor.
After the guilty plea, Crown Attorney Michael Cantlin read out a brief statement of facts, telling the court that during each of the murders, one or more of the following factors were present: planning and deliberation, a murder committed in the course of sexually assaulting the victims, or a murder committed while the victims were unlawfully confined. For Isaac, the statement of facts submitted in court showed how close he came to being killed.
He had just admitted that he was trying to kill me. He was trying to strangle me to death. I wanted to yell at him. It took all my effort not to get up and say something.
Sean Cribben was also in court to hear Bruce McArthur's guilty plea.
I was in the front row, so I had a clear side view of his face. And I just couldn't believe that was the same person. And then when they showed the footage of Andrew getting in the van, that was very difficult for her. Because I picture my last, like how I walked to the van, and like, it was so similar, like just, you know, don't think anything's around the corner, and it's just like, that would have been it.
8 lives, it deserves more than 25 years. Those are 8 people that won't have a future.
Bruce McArthur was 67 years old when he was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. If he lives that long, he will be eligible when he is 91 years old. But this story didn't end after sentencing. The Toronto Police Service reflected on the case and enacted new measures, including a new missing persons unit aimed at preventing another Bruce McArthur scenario.
There still are divisional missing person investigators, but there is one unit that kind of has the bigger picture to oversee everything, to make sure that all are kind of being handled in a standardized process. And having that bigger picture, they can identify, you know, certain trends or certain anomalies that might need to be looked at.
In addition, Toronto police officer Sergeant Paul Gauthier, who had investigated Isaac's complaint in 2016, was accused of professional misconduct, charged with insubordination and neglect of duty. He was arrested in January 2018, and an internal probe related to the case began shortly thereafter. It was alleged that Gauthier failed to comply with the force's internal domestic violence policy, which requires a victim statement be videotaped and that photographs of the injuries be taken within 72 hours. He pleaded not guilty to the disciplinary charges, and on February 8, 2019, Gauthier was found not guilty. An independent review was also tasked with assessing how Toronto police conduct investigations into missing persons, especially involving people from the LGBTQ2, vulnerable, and marginalized communities. Headed by retired Judge Gloria Epstein, the report contained 151 recommendations aimed at revamping missing persons investigations, and noted that investigations connected to McArthur were, quote, infected by bias. The report also noted that many officers rejected that view, and that there were many who, quote, worked tirelessly to solve these cases. Detective Dave Dickinson was one of them.
I mean, obviously, as an investigator, could I do things differently? Would I have done things differently knowing what I know now? Absolutely.
Had that case been, those charges been brought, you can't speak to that?
You can't speak to that.
It's a hypothetical?
It's hypothetical, just like, I have the benefit of hindsight, and I have the benefit of knowing what I know now. So back then, you don't know.
But what Isaac did by calling police was key to this investigation.
100%. That occurrence, the whole report, was extremely key to me identifying Bruce McArthur as a person of interest back then in Andrew Kinsman's disappearance. If it had not been for that report, Bruce McArthur may have just been another Bruce on that list of vans that had no background or no contact with the Toronto police.
Isaac and Sean Cribben, who each had their own close calls with Bruce McArthur, are grateful to have survived a serial killer.
There were 6 victims before you.
Yeah. I was almost number 7, so.
But they could have saved 2 more, perhaps.
Yeah, it is a little hard. I feel bad for the Estons and the Kingsmen.
What did you think of how the police handled the case?
I truly believe the police, other than a few mistakes that were made by individuals, the police did an amazing job. It was a needle in a haystack.
You know what I think about? I see the faces of all the dead men. So that's what's in my mind a lot. When I start thinking about it, I think about all the pictures I would put up. That's the first thing that starts running through my head, is all their faces. It makes me feel very bad.
You do what you do to survive. I had people coming up to me and saying, "Oh, you should have punched him in the face." Well, you weren't there, so shut up. The guilt and all of that, I get it. Like even the roommate who I met, he's got a lot of guilt too. And I think there's probably many people involved, either directly and some indirectly. It's really affected people deeply. Like the gay, besides the gay community, it's been a major ripple effect. The healing process has given me a whole new light to my life in a positive way. If someone in your life has made a difference and put you in a better direction, you call them, write down a letter today. Like, don't wait for them almost to be killed, because it's too late. And you never know when that could happen.
As part of his healing, survivor Sean Cribben dedicated himself to promoting internet safety, especially online dating. He recommends that before going to meet someone, take a screenshot of their profile and send it to someone you trust, along with the place you'll be meeting and when you expect to return. Thank you to Sean and Isaac for sharing their stories, and thank you for listening. Crime Beat is hosted by me, Nancy Hixt. This TV documentary episode originally aired February 20th, 2021, and was reported on by Catherine McDonald. For photos and other information on this story, please head to Global News. I'll add the link to the show notes. To watch this episode, please subscribe to the Crime Beat TV YouTube channel. This episode was adapted to podcast by our senior producer, Dila Velasquez. Audio and sound design by Rob Johnston. Thanks again for listening. Please join me next time on Crime Beat.